What is up, you guys? It's Brock Johnson here with a really important video that a lot of you guys are overlooking. I see a lot of beginners or even advanced people do this. So essentially, how do you sell your manufacturer? Most people are actually only focusing on selling their product to the customers, all right? But they're not actually focusing on selling themselves to the manufacturer. So I've been to China talking to a lot of suppliers, and some of them, they don't even want to go on Alibaba anymore because it's just filled with lower quality leads or rude messages, not well described messages, and basically they're just a lot of the leads on Alibaba are just crap for them, so they don't want to even respond or even go on Alibaba. So if you're going and you see a dream factory there, maybe you should put in the time and effort and actually think about this and be really laser focused on selling them as well as making sure that they're a good match for you. So in this video, we talk about, the overall goals and the ways to psychologically sell them the best, as well as the ways to validate that they're actually going to be the best supplier for you. So I hope that you guys go and actually watch through this whole video because it's very important. One of the most important concepts that I know. So definitely make sure to watch through this whole thing. Now, this is a video from the last Amazon course, and it's $1, no upsells, like just literally the best course in the world, and I've spent the last month redoing a majority of it. Now those videos are going to be released later, but here's a sneak peek at like the quality of the videos. Right? We're going so in depth, really going deep into all of this. So I hope that you guys enjoy it, and let me know if you have any questions, and then make sure to subscribe down there, hit that bell, and leave a comment. I'm sure that other people would appreciate it, and I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. Well, let's get into it. All right, you guys, we're going to be talking about how you're going to go about contacting the manufacturer, what the best practices are, and what the goals are. And at the end, I'll give you somewhat of a template, but the truth is that the template is always kind of changing, and it depends on what your needs are going to be from this manufacturer. So I hope that this is a very, that you guys take something from this video. So what are the goals of this? Well, what we need to do is we need to very accurately describe our needs to the supplier. All right, then once we've described our needs to the supplier, we're going to verify that they are a good supplier. And then the other goal is that we establish that we are a serious partner, because guess what? It's a two-way business relationship. It's not just this, hey, we're this we're going to force and get the lowest prices and they're just going to be our bitch. Like, no, it's a friendship. It's a relationship, business relationship. So you want to show that you're serious and going to be great to do business with, and you want to make sure that they're going to return the favor so that you guys can have a relationship for a long time. You don't want to be stuck in this process where you're switching in between manufacturers. And so we're going to get into it. So essentially, we need to accurately describe our needs to the supplier. Make sure to say the color, the quantity, the example pictures. So for example, if you're trying to source a horse mask or something, you go get examples of horse masks that you like, and then take pictures and then say, we want to make these, this part, this color. We want this part, this color. We want a larger mouth for this so that people can chug something out of it. I don't know. So you just have to make it super simple, and pictures are always better than words, because not only is it hard to just explain what you want to me through words, but now you're going through translation. And not only are you going through a translation, you're going through a translation, and then they are now talking to somebody else. So you're playing a big game of translating telephones. So pictures, though, are very clear, and that's the best way to go with it. Say the type of material that you want. And then certifications. Now, this one is huge. We have a whole separate video on certifications, but you make sure that they have that certification. And here's the thing about certifications: ask that they actually have it or they've previously gotten it. A lot of them will say, yes, we can get that, but they're just saying that to get business sometimes. So be careful on that. And then we also have the dimensions and weight, if this is applicable, especially if you're right at the point where it's going to be oversized or whatnot, or if this is a very sensitive, like weight is a very important part of the product, be specific on that. And then customization requests. We want to talk about like, hey, we want packaging. Okay. We want customized packaging, or if you have specific packaging needs, you got to say and see that they can actually do that in the first place. Then we're going to talk about features. Okay. And then, so let's say you want to add a feature. So it's not going to be as easy as just drawing on the picture. You might need to find examples of other things with it and kind of piece them together so that they can understand what you're making. Now, you got to understand there's all these different types of manufacturing processes. So some of these they can do easily, and some of them they can't do easily. So I'd say probably for now, we could cover it in the future, but for now, go look up. I think it'd be very useful. I actually look at YouTube videos of how the manufacturing process works. Like, I understand how injection molding works. I understand how CNC machine works. I've used all of these. I know how 3D printers work. And I mean, those are just used for prototyping. But just to prove the point, there's if you kind of figure out what product material it's made out of, and then go YouTube that product like making process. If you're trying to get something very customized, I think it would be good to understand how that process works so you can have realistic desires from them. Once we have our description very well, which we'll show an example of in the at the end with the template, we want to verify that they are a good supplier, okay? So there's some key takeaways from this. 1, you want to make sure they're actually a factory. 2, you want to make sure that they have good communication and that they follow directions, all right? Now, if they can't communicate well and follow directions on your email, how are they going to communicate well and follow directions on your product? And this is your business, all right? This is going to be your livelihood. You want that to be on spot, okay? So you want them to meet your quality and customization abilities if necessary. So you also want to have competitive pricing and production capabilities, all right? Can they actually do this? And are they pricing compared to the market? Are they pricing themselves pretty competitively to the market? Now, let me tell you, price isn't everything. And then we go to integrity. So I'll go over all these points in a second. And the whole point of integrity is that we want to see that they are going to be a good long-term business partner, all right? They're not going to screw us over. If they mess up, they're going to pay for it. And if we mess up, that's on us. So going back to the very first one, verify they're actually a factory. So the question you want to ask in the template is ask if they can do a pre-purchase inspection of the factory. Like, hey, I want to send over an agent before I actually even do this purchase. Now, I've done this with factories, and I've actually gone in person and checked them out. And guess what? Every single time I was like, I don't know about this guy. I don't know if I trust them, or they're lying to me about certifications, or I don't like the work environment or the quality here. And so I've turned all of them down. And one of them I just went to for fun. I went to a tree factory, and that was pretty cool just because I'm going to have a big LED forest someday. And then you also want to see what % of their market share is in the USA, okay? And how many containers a week they ship. By doing this, you're going to get more specific numbers, and you're going to see what are their production capabilities, and do they have experience dealing in your market? Because if they don't have experience in your market, especially if it's in something that's dangerous or with certifications, they might not be doing customs correctly. Granted, your freight forward's doing that, but they might not have some simple things, like they might forget to put made in China on it or something. I mean, obviously you get that at inspection, but there's just gonna be little things that they might not know about your market, that it's okay in the EU, for example, to have products that aren't UL rated that are electrical, but you can technically do it in the USA, but they're built to different standards, and you might get sued. If you get sued and you don't have UL, your product insurance might not cover you. So it only takes one burned down apartment to lose everything. So I'm going to go into the specific questions now, just as a brief overview. And then at the end, you don't need to ask all of these. We'll give kind of a template for beginners. And then if you're an advanced seller, you should make your own. All right. But here are the general things that I go about when filtering through them for all of these. So let's say we are looking for that they're actually a factory. Ask them for a pre-purchase inspection of the factory. If they don't let you do that, that's a red flag. They should be wanting you to come over there, inspect it. If they're going to have a long-term business relationship, you're going to want to go there at some point anyways. So if they won't let you come in the beginning, why? What's up with that? What % of their market share is the USA? Okay, so by asking this or whatever market you're selling into, you want to make sure that they have previous experience selling into there, because they might not know all the laws. They might not know the custom imports, which your freight forwarder would be taking care of, but you want to make sure that they have that, because, like when it comes to electrical products or health and beauty, I don't know that stuff. Somebody's going to have to know it, but you don't want to have to be hiring a lawyer. Well, if you're going to something dangerous, you probably should get an expert to do everything. But if they're not experts and in your country, you don't want to have to train them. You want to find somebody that already knows what's up and is doing it successfully. So then what you're going to do now, good communication, have numbered questions, okay? Just a very numbered bullet list, and then say, email me at this email, so that it's organized, because Alibaba is a mess. Trust me, all right? You do not want to be using that messaging platform. Okay, so the next thing is you want to see that they meet your quality and customization ability, all right? So to match quality, of course, we ask if they can meet all the material needs, as we talked about before, but then we want to see multiple samples, because they could be just sending us a good sample, and there might be an issue. So now there are some manufacturers that are hesitant to send out more than one, but you just give them a good reason, okay? Because some people are just like, hey, could I get 5 of these? And then they're going to charge you a lot per unit, versus like saying, okay, well, fine, we'll give them all 5 for free, but just pay shipping. Some people have tried to screw them over in the past. So just tell them that, hey, we want to inspect the product quality, or we have several engineers that are all going to, analyze the product and break it down. So by giving them a good reason, they'll be more likely to do that. Then what you also want to ask about customization is your packaging, all right? So adding features and accessories. So if you need to add a feature or accessory, give example photos, okay? Like we said, you're playing the big telephone game with communication. So you really want to make sure to have images and just clear point. And let's say you have this mask, you want a bigger mouth, you want this ear to be like this, you want to add a handle to the head, I don't know. You want to add a knife to the head. So find examples of other things, and that's going to help you out. As well as bundling. Like, could they bundle? Do they have any partnerships with other factories? Because if they have partnerships with other factories, like for example, my guy with one of my pair of glasses, I wanted to get some nice bags to go with them and some cleaning cloths, and he kind of quoted me at a very high price at first, but then I was able to go out and find a competitive quote on the marketplace and say, hey, could you meet this? And of course he did. So you might get a little bit scalped on this, because they're like, oh, let me see what I could get. But, I think it's worth trying, and then you can negotiate that later. But the more that you could put off onto one place, then that is the better, because you have less processes to manage. So you also want to ask for the price of things ahead of time. What is the packaging going to cost? So if we're customizing and we want a white box with, just these colors, what is that going to cost per unit? And is that included in the original quote price that they give us? So that way they're not adding on prices after the fact, after we've chosen that this is good, and then now it's like, oh, well, the box is 70 cents or something. That's not something you want to run into. Then you want to ask for their ability. This is just now if you want to do customization. Could they open up a mold for you? And what's it going to cost? Okay. And then are you going to be able to keep that mold? So, for example, you're going to take ownership of the mold and ship it somewhere else. That's going to help you tell about integrity, which we talk about down there. And if they're going to allow you to do that, you don't necessarily need to, but just showing that they would allow you to do that, that's great. And then also you want to make sure they have a competitive cost for molding. So that is pretty commoditized. You could probably bring it to an engineering firm, and they'll tell you about what it should cost to get that tooling done. And we'll talk more about molds. You don't need to worry about molds if you are a newer seller, and like maybe you're doing a mold for a new type of little silicone product, that's not going to cost too much. But if you're getting a mold for a giant product that requires a lot of CNC work, that's going to cost a lot. And then one thing I've always done is I always figure out what type of material am I working with, okay? And then when you know what material you're working with, now how do you shape that? How does it get made? So just go to YouTube, like find out the material and figure out how it's made. And then once you know how it's made, you see that process, you can start to see what the capabilities are and the complexity of your requests. And I just think that's a very good thing to know, because there's some you'll know what's capable and what is not capable of doing. And that's definitely helped me over the years. because some things are just not manufacturable. So with competitive pricing and production capabilities, you're going to want to ask for tiered pricing. Now, this is probably the most important question, okay? So instead, let's say you want to order 400 or 500 units. You're going to ask for tiered pricing. Like, let's say their MOQ is 1,000. You're going to ask for 1,000, 2,000, and 3,000 quantity or something along those lines, and showing that you're a large buyer, okay? Now what you're going to want to do is you can later go and negotiate. So first of all, by doing this tiered quantity, you're going to find out the true price. And this, because like if you've done your job and you've made a very serious email, now they take you seriously. They're going to give you a good price, and hopefully one of the 3 or 4 that you contact is going to give you the true price. You can find the other true price on 1688, like we talked about earlier. So you find all these true prices and see who's going to be a good match for you. And then you also want to ask for lead time. So lead time is great because it's going to help improve your cash flow, as we've talked about. So if you can get less product, so for example, like if we had a 1-day lead time, and I could take a much lower margin. Like if it was 1-day lead time, 1-day shipping time, and it turned over right away, I'll take a 2% margin, because if I could make 2% a day and compound that, go to the moon. So the reason that I did so well with the solar eclipse, I had a very tight and fast lead time, high ROI. And by getting, it was like 2 weeks, and then it was in the United States, it was in the factory like that, and some stuff I could even get instantly. So that was huge, because I did a little bit of wholesale mixed in with my private label, so I was able to do that. Then lastly, integrity. Ask about their certifications, ask to see the actual certification, and don't make sure that they have not just the ability to get the certification, that they have gotten that type of certification for that product or a very similar product, and as we talked about before, sold into that market. Now this, if you're going into something dangerous that you could get sued or somebody could get hurt, you do not want to overstep this, and verify. Trust, but verify. I read the scientific papers, and I found out my manufacturers were lying to me at the solar eclipse. And instead of doing 6 million and about 3 in profit, I would have been bankrupt. I would have made $0 because my products would not have actually been certified. They lied to me about the certifications, but I knew my due diligence. And you could go get a third party to test it. But oftentimes when I told them, once I found out some were lying, when I told them I was going to test it and they said, send me the laboratory name of the testing, I'm going to call them ahead of time, they didn't lie to me, okay? Because if they know you're going to check the certification, they're like, we're not going to, this guy's not a dummy. And then if they say we could get it, normally walk away unless they have previous experience doing something very similar. So you're also, for integrity and just profitability, ask if they're going to apply the sample fee to your purchase order. This goes and helps show that you're a serious supplier, because you wouldn't be asking that if you didn't intend on ordering. This will really help if you're ordering 5 samples. And then ask, now the last one, ask if they will give you an exclusive or take ownership of the mold. If you could take the ownership of the mold, this is very advanced, but essentially what an exclusive is, every year companies in China have an in-house design team, and they're constantly making new products. They don't always make the right ones, but sometimes they make really cool, innovative products that match with the United States consumers or whatever market applicable. And you could get those before anybody else does. So they'll never even be on Alibaba with a lot of products, because they have marked out these exclusive deals with sellers that they have reputations with. So just if you're more advanced, ask if if they do exclusives on any of their products, and how often they come out with new ones. That might be more of a Skype question, not a email template on the original to get started with them. So these are the overall things. And then what is next? We are going to establish ourselves as a serious purchaser. All right. So how do you establish yourself as a serious purchaser? Use a professional email. Have the domain for your actual brand. Okay. That's going to show, because they're getting so many emails. I was in China speaking with the manufacturer. He's just told me a really heart to heart. He said, I don't even go on Alibaba anymore, because the leads are such shit. Okay. Because there's a lot of people who are they're being very rude to suppliers, just really focusing on price. And, they'll do an order of 300, 500 and never order again. that's not, it said he's not making any money on Alibaba. So he just completely stopped. And I met him at the Canton Fair, actually in China. So you want to make sure that you are like, if this factory's on there, they're looking for these serious buyers. You might not even get a response, or you just get a half-assed one if you don't make it very professional. So have that professional email. That's the first step. If you're like James Bigfoot 42 at gmail.com, they're probably not going to respond. Okay. Especially if you're saying, hey, could you send this very formal thing. Could you send it to jamesbigfoot42 at gmail.com? Good luck. Be well organized. Have it well formatted. Have it well descripted. Show that you are very professional. Ask for tiered quantities with larger quantities so that they understand, wow, this guy's going to buy a lot. He's asking for the high price, even though we're just asking for the high price to see what we could get it to in the future as a psychological peg. So we can expect, as we get better and we get the economies of scale, that we're going to be able to go with this guy and get a good price. So that's what we ask about. Now we are going to establish that we are the purchasing manager, okay? We do not want to say we are the CEO or the owner, because then it's now you making this personal decision. Whereas if I'm just the purchasing manager, hey man, my boss is making the decision. I can't make the choice on this one. So, can we work on this out? I really like you guys, but my boss just said we can't afford it or something. Or, it makes things less personal, and you can kind of shift the blame off on this theoretical person. And then what else you want to do is mentor future plans of big purchases, building a long-term relationship, and future products that you would like to start, and sourcing multiple products from them, ordering large quantities. You'd like to potentially come over there and see them. Now, this might be some more Skype talk, but you would drop a little bit of it in this template that you want to have a long-term business relationship, profitable for both of you. And part of being profitable for both of you is high quality and not screwing them on price. They are business people too, okay? Treat this factory with respect, and they will treat you with respect. You want to make money, and they want to make money. So here's one tip. You get what you ask for, okay? Sometimes a factory will think that all we care about is price. So they will sacrifice quality by using cheaper parts and not making them what we truly want. And I am an advocate of building the highest quality product. So you want to make this point across. Price is an important factor, but it is not the most important. Quality is our most important factor, and having a long-term profitable relationship. And if you do that, you're probably going to get a good price, because they say this guy knows, or this guy or girl, that they know what they're talking about, and they're talking long-term. Now they're envisioning themselves having a long-term profitable good relationship with you, because you're well organized, you're asking the right things, and they're going to be a lot more willing if they have the capabilities to be working with you, okay? And then now you're really going to be able to get that MOQ lower if you've done all these things. So now like we said, you can negotiate that MOQ lower we'll get all the price, we'll verify everything, and then we say, we want to do a small sample order of this amount of quantity, because my boss just isn't sure which part of the market we want to go after for our big order. So could we do that? And then what would be the higher price on, if we were to do a smaller MOQ? I'm okay with buying I like this approach. You can find out the true price. You can now peg that to them in the future. And then you use the MOQ to pay a higher price, but you know that if this works, you've got a good supplier and you can source it and get it going. So that's what I like to see. And then you want to say, let's use some psychological factors. You are purchasing soon, and you are considering other factories. And we said quality, long-term relationship is important, and we're buying soon, and we're considering others, but we like you. And so by doing this, they're now really like, this guy's buying. He wants a long-term profitable relationship. He's going to buy pretty good quantities. He's professional. If they can do that, you're going to get a good match. Okay. So overall, I'm going to do a quick summary. Okay. I know it went pretty deep in this video, so please stick with me. We can describe our needs like this, and we say, okay, are you a good supplier? Are you a factory? Do you have good communication? Do you have the capabilities we need? And are you competitive? And are they, do they have integrity? So if you could trust them, they have good quality, their factory that communicates back and forth well, that's a good person to do business with. So then you are a serious professional purchaser that's well organized with, you're asking all the right things, talking about a long-term profitable relationship, and you're buying. You hope it's with them, but there's other people, there's other fish in the sea, all right? So they want to compete for you because you're asking all the right things. You're not James Bigfoot 42 at gmail.com, all right? So I'll go ahead and, don't get overwhelmed by this. Let's just show a quick template. And once you make the template, that's great. The template is the most important thing from my understanding. And, it really determines the quality of manufacturer that you get. Now, one final parting word. This would be essentially the same process when you're using a sourcing agent, but you don't have to go through all of these loopholes, okay? But you go and get a sourcing agent to ask this similar type of stuff. This is going to be your general framework. So on to the template now.